thing about the theme?
Keep rolling, guys.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
So, tonight is about love. And I think it's obvious that we all fantasize, romanticize, publicize now with the internet, and fictionalize our views on love and romance and partnership, and it's something that everyone's really talking about right now amongst all of our friends. And it's a really great and easy way to hop on board in the month of February, where people are thinking about this self-imposed Valentine's event. So I thought we'd head it off at the pass and do it in a slightly sideways Gramercy Park way, with amazing artists like Karine, who's going to be
The reason
posing
I came
questions
here
about
today
love
was
and art through dance.
I wanted to talk about love, and the way I wanted to do it was maybe a little different. I wanted to open a dialogue with you guys about love and maybe share a little bit of my experience. I have been fascinated by the concept of love as a French woman, you can imagine, but also since always, I started my first long-term relationship. I was 5 years old, and it was from 5 to 7, then 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 14, 14 to 16, and then 16 to 33, and I hit a wall.
My interest today is a little extravaganza, I guess, in its form, because I've decided to create a bit of a dialogue with the audience about love. So it's gonna have like 3 sides with 3 segments. And the first segment is my sharing about my stories, my personal stories about it, in leading into a book that I've been reading, that I've been fascinated by, called The Art of Love from Erich Fromm. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I would like to, you've read that book?
Erich Fromm is a German sociologist, psychologist, and philosopher. And what he did is that he put the correlation of the art of anything and the art of love. So for him, love is an art form. So what does that mean? Then it means there's effort, right? There's some knowledge about it. Then he went into the theory, the mastery of the theory of love, the mastery of the practice of love, right? So the theory part of it is basically love is giving.
We think we speak of love, or we think we care about it, but we don't actually discuss it. And I like to discuss about it. I like to have opinions. I like to hear what people think. And I like to pose the question, how do you love?
A marketing person will be, I give you, you give me back. That's exchange, right? Some people think giving is like a sacrifice. It's like giving up of something. So anyways, for the maybe more of the healthier way of looking at it is giving of what is alive within you, giving of self, giving of what is making you happy, your joy, your sadness, all the manifestations of your own life. That makes you alive, you give to the other, and in return, they become more alive.
And you've never done this before?
Never. You know, you usually keep the dialogue in the green room, just like this moment, certainly not on the stage.
Yeah.
So it could just be a complete flop at this point, because they could be like, I'm not telling you nothing. Woo! I gotta be prepared for that one.
If there is a mastery of the practice of love, the first thing for any art form, let it be an art of engineering, the art of, I don't know, dentistry, the art of singing that we saw so beautifully on stage today, it takes something very important. It starts with a D. Who has an ID? Any art form requires, discipline. That's the first thing. Then he went into art form that requires concentration. The concentration on the other, the act of listening. And then concentration on self, the act of listening to your own inner voice.
I've learned so much in the past 40 years of my life. I really have learned, and I'm fascinated by it, and I think the world is fascinated by it. I want us to spend more time speaking of it versus speaking of war, for instance, and how we can destroy another human being. Like, how about we become masters of love? Like, what would it look like? Except the Italians know, right?
So the third thing it speaks of, which is very important, is the act. Any art form requires, starts with a P. Yes, patience. Wow. Right, exactly. Patience. So you move forward, say that the condition for us to love was actually to be able to overcome our own narcissism. So that set me down for a second, and I was like, was I ever narcissistic?
You just answered a question, which was going to be like, what does love mean to you right now? But I think you just answered that question. So.
What does it mean?
Right now in your life, what does love mean to you
Yes.
right now?
Yes. Ouch. It means so many things. It means meaning an incredible human being. The moment I actually clean my own heart, and being able to sustain that is what I'm interested by. So how do you sustain respect, knowledge, responsibility, care? How do you do that day in and day out? And I'm interested to win at it.
Objectivity. The act of being able to look at another without your own story, without your fears and your desires. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wow, where is this leading? And then he went into the world of the only best condition that one has to have to be in love starts with an F. Faith. Who said it? Yes, Lance. So wait, faith. But faith in what? Faith in oneself. So now I'm going a little further. After I hit my wall and I cried, I realized that I was doing exactly the same thing over and over since 5 years old, over and over and over again. I would not stop. Faith in myself.
What it looks waking up in the morning in the person's arm and not going like, I can't wait to be back in those arms tomorrow or tonight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And supporting one another in our own dreams, that's another thing that I think is phenomenal. Being able to be in each other's life, but supporting the other to shine brighter than ever. That's so amazing. And being pissed off and finding a way to say, I'm sorry. And to mean it.
I had a conversation 2 months ago with this woman that said to me, Karine, how are your relationships? I was finishing an on and off long 4-year relationship. And she said to me, how are you doing in love? And I say, well, actually, my lesser self is in control of the department of my loves. And she said to me, what about you start to meditate, chant, pray, whatever you do, to become the person you will want to date? That was a huge awakening. I stood there. I decided to really look into it. At that moment, within 5 hours of that conversation, my phone rang. There was the name of a man on my screen, a man that I'd met 12 years ago in the subway. And I picked up the phone. Now, this man and I have been meeting in the subway every 2 years, coincidentally. We never actually spoke on the phone until that day. Anyways, we went on a date, went to dinner, or to a film, and the next day he came to my home, and since then, I've been in his arms, and I love it. So the other part that I want to talk about is the fact that once you have faith, faith requires C. What is it? Yes, the courage to pick up that phone. Yes, Niall. Those are the 2 children, by the way, of this incredible couple that are with me right here. Amazing human beings. Yeah. They totally get it. They know exactly what it means to be in love or to love, right? So the other part is courage and the act of taking a risk, the act of going beyond what you did yesterday. I believe that we are capable to be a lot more bold in our love action. And I'm here to just show you now, enough talking. We are going into the dancing and the art form of singing and poetry and dancing. And hopefully I can show you visually what it looks like.
Like, what got you started in this as an artist? Why are you an artist? Why the hell do you do what you're doing? Because it's not an easy life.
Because there's not another option for me. It's just not an option. Another great reason why I'm here today is because I collaborated with 2 other human beings, which I'm very happy to do so, because this lady, Audrey, and her husband, Belden, are like, they're like this thing. They created this poem, and he plays music. Their children are phenomenal actors, and she is a poet and an actor. And we came together to speak of love, and that became this collaboration.
If music was a woman, her name would be Treble. Here come Treble. treble. At least that's what the elders would call her. You know that girl, the one that could never stand still, moving like a top melody line, skating inside the boom, rhythm pulsing through her veins, controlling her brain. Make the old ladies shake their heads with disdain. But she don't notice though, 'cause Treble lives to dance outside under tribal skies, to ancestors' polyrhythms vibrating through her strong brown thighs, lifted high, high heels kicked off. And she spins, dancing with the one that knows how to lift her highest. Who got that strong, silent grip, you know, touching ground just long enough to push down and fly high. Spin that treble, hear that treble? Clubs be hot like an oven, bodies glued together, passion heated, explosion fluid needed. And only bass knows where to dig for water. If Treble had a man, paving that low road with his gentle grace, so smooth is his love, so quiet is his strength. His solo rumbles like giant steps, making all the limbs sway, and mothers pray their daughters don't go and find his way. Ooh, those callous fingers pluck out a symphony, not loud like a drummer. His thumbs and whispers dedicated to his family's groove. And as the band follows, so does she. Leading, then following. If treble and bass had children, their names would be soul and jazz. Old young souls unapologetically raised by a soul gypsy girl who settled down as much as a rainbow can. They would not know restriction. They would not feel shame. Outside the box is where they play their life's game. And they'd be the ones to sing the loudest. They'd be the ones to make a beautiful mess, taking the colors of jazz, rock, and pop with paint under fingernails. He pop, he lock, he hip, he hop, explicit lyrics. Reaching in, dreaming out loud. During math class, gazing through closed window panes. The new, they take what you give and reinvent. And treble and bass find themselves the elders being taught by the new young bloods. Hey, that's what comes from living outside the box.
And I would love, but at the end of this, what my greatest joy would be that at least one person in the audience goes home and go, wow, well, how do I love? And maybe question themselves. You know, let it be in a family setting, or with intimate people, or as a citizen of the world.